Part 40. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 391. Su Ming is not being modest, it is indeed a small restaurant. According to Hong Fi Fei's design, only 3 floors of Tingfeng Pavilion are open for business, and the 4th floor is used as a bar. Even if it is full, the flow of customers is limited. Even if Tingfeng Pavilion restaurant does not need so much meat, he has several companies under his control, and there are dozens of employees in the zoo, so it can be used as a New Year's welfare. Besides, there is also Ding Daniu Cyclamen. This girl goes to the zoo to flirt with her chef whenever she has time, asking her to help digest thousands of kilograms of wild boar meat. How can she refuse? Su Ming's truthful words fell into the ears of the shareholders, but it was humble. The second uncle slapped his thigh and said, "You kid, why didn't you say it earlier? With you opening a big restaurant, what do we have to worry about sales? No wonder they even fly planes. It's really a small shop." Su Ming said, and his mind turned. Tingfeng Pavilion is not only a small shop, but also a small shop that has just started. It lacks everything, and the most important thing is the lack of ingredients. Sun Town is backed by mountains and is rich in products. Town residents can go into the mountains to do some sideline business all year round. There are all kinds of mountain products, including rare products such as walnuts and winter bamboo shoots. If you are lucky, you can even find Ganoderma lucidum and ginseng. After collecting mountain products, the people in the town cross mountains and ridges to sell them in the county town. Not only can they not get a good price, but it is also troublesome. Everyone, in addition to pork, I also collect mountain products. In the future, I will arrange a car to come back and collect them every half a month, Su Ming said. Do you collect mountain rats? Do you collect wild chestnuts? When the shareholders came, they were all depressed. After Su Ming's words, not only did the previous problems get completely solved, but there was also an additional good news. The atmosphere in the whole ancestral hall immediately changed, and it was as happy as a festival. Only Tony was a little depressed. Is it over? He hasn't fulfilled his dream of becoming a knight yet. Zhao Yun looked at Su Ming in the crowd and couldn't help shaking his head and smiling. He thought that this matter would never end here, but Su Ming was becoming more and more mature, and he knew to keep many things in his heart without making a sound. Zhao Yun guessed correctly. The key to this matter was not the sales of wild boar meat. Different heights and different perspectives on the problem. Su Ming had never worried about the future sales of wild boars from the beginning. His own restaurant, several restaurants in which Zhao Yun had shares, plus cyclamen, tens of thousands of pounds of pork were not a problem at all. The key was the so-called strong person behind the boss Jian. After a detailed chat with Mayor Wu, this person himself was not a big shot, but he happened to be in charge of the food sector. If this person is not dealt with, Sun Town will inevitably be constrained in doing things in the future, and it is unknown when he will be beaten. In any case, the farm still has a large share of his family. If the restaurant can be prosperous in the future, Sun Town and even Moxie County are very good sources of food ingredients, and are completely a natural logistics base. Su Ming does not want a fire in the rear. After the meeting at the ancestral hall, it was already past 7 in the evening. The second uncle invited me to his house for a meal. This was not a meal, but a drinking contest. Mayor Wu was there, and he and the second uncle were very enthusiastic hosts. As for Su Ming, he was trying to get information from old Wu and find out about the director Qian. After the meal, Su Ming was drunk and dizzy. Zhao Yun almost vomited. Even Yingying drank a few cups of the second uncle's homemade rice wine. She walked unsteadily, like a kung fu panda. I didn't expect Tony's alcohol tolerance to be amazing. This guy lived in Russia for a year when he was 15. He drank white wine like water with the Russians all day long. His alcohol tolerance was almost catching up with Su Meng. He actually made the second uncle and old Wu both fall down. "Tony, can you still do anything?" Su Ming asked with a burp. "No problem." Tony's eyes were bright. "Boss, the more Russians drink, the more energetic they are." "So am I." There was no need to ask Zhao Yun. He lay on the wall and vomited all over the floor, and was carried upstairs to sleep. "Okay, let's go to the county town." Lao Jian is in his early 40s, in his prime, and in the rising period of his career, managing the Moxie County Farmers Market. Such people are naturally more energetic. No matter how small the place is, as long as there are such rich and strong and energetic men, there must be women who do business with such men. Moxie County is no exception, and the crackdown on pornography and illegal publications is being carried out vigorously, with a zero-tolerance attitude. But people who like to do this are like little mice with sensitive noses, who can always find holes. Lao Jian drove the car and stopped at the door of the Qianqianyuji hair salon at the end of the street, and walked in with familiarity. There were several revealing ladies sitting on the sofa in the hair salon. When they saw Lao Jian coming, they giggled at him. "Why haven't you come for so long?" If it was at any other time, Lao Jian would definitely make some jokes, but at this time, there were not only ladies in the hair salon, but also a drunken foreigner with a huge travel bag on his back, who was using unclear English and gestures to talk to a lady. "Who is it?" Lao Jian asked a familiar lady. "Hey, a foreigner who came to travel. He thought we were really barbers. He can't speak Chinese, so he couldn't explain it clearly." After a long time the lady leaned on Lao Jian and asked with a smile, "Come upstairs and sit down." Seeing that the foreigner was struggling to gesture with the lady and couldn't even speak properly, Lao Jian finally felt relieved. Amid the obscene laughter, the two went upstairs. As soon as Lao Jian left, the young foreigner suddenly said, as if he had learned Chinese, "I've had too much to drink, I'll sleep here, I'll pay you." Of course, such a good thing would not be rejected, not to mention that the foreigner was very generous and directly paid 600 yuan. If it weren't for the fact that he was a foreigner and they were afraid of causing disputes, the ladies would have been ready to rip him off. The foreigner was supported and came to a small massage room on the second floor. As soon as the lady who sent him up left, the foreigner's eyes suddenly became clear. He opened the zipper of his backpack, and a drunken panda appeared in the travel bag that was almost the size of a person. Then he took out his phone and dialed the number, whispering, "Boss, I'm here." According to the plan, Su Ming's voice came from the other end of the phone. The next morning, Lao Jian arrived more than 2 hours later than usual. When it was almost time for lunch, he lowered his head and hurried into the office. After closing the door, Lao Jian sat down on the sofa. His waist was sore and painful, and there was a big black eye on his eye socket, like a panda. Thinking of what happened last night, Lao Jian felt as if he had a dream, and was afraid and strange. He was afraid that if what happened yesterday was exposed, he would be in big trouble. He was strange. Did he have hallucinations last night? Why was there a panda? But if it was an illusion, where did the black eye on his face come from? Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 392. One of Lao Jian's eyes was black and blue, and combined with his fat body, he looked very much like some kind of national treasure animal. Panda, how could there be a panda? From last night to now, the scenes that happened at that time were like playing a movie. I didn't know how many times I thought about it in Lao Jian's mind, but Lao Jian still couldn't help but go. I thought, it was all so weird, like a dream. Every time Lao Jian went to the beauty salon to check the work, he said check carefully, but his physical fitness could not keep up. In actual operation, the work was done in a hurry in 2 or 3 minutes. The lady at the beauty salon also knew his virtue, and he finished the work last night. After that, the young lady casually put on briefs, pulled out a piece of toilet paper and wiped the stain. Lao Jian was naked and lying on the bed smoking a cigarette. He held the cigarette in one hand and the other hand was idle, touching the lady randomly. At this moment, the room door was suddenly knocked hard from the outside. There is a small latch behind the door of this small beauty salon, and it opens immediately. Lao Jian was startled, thinking that he would not be so unlucky. Would he encounter a prostitute? After the unit was restructured, although he was no longer a civil servant, he still belonged to the management unit and was responsible for managing the operations of the county's farmers' markets. In the second half of the year, the director will resign, and he, the deputy director, is the obvious candidate to take over. If such a scandal is found out, according to the county's anti-pornography and illegal activities, let alone being promoted to director, he probably won't even be able to keep the deputy director. Old Qian and the young lady looked at the door at the same time. Unexpectedly, it was not the police who came in, but the foreign guy they saw downstairs just now. Old Qian was so frightened that he was all sweating. When he saw that it was not the police, he let out a long sigh. Before he could relax, the young man suddenly took out his camera and took pictures in the room, taking pictures of everyone in the room. The scene was clearly captured. It only lasted 2 or 3 seconds. By the time Lao Jian reacted, the young man had already turned around and ran away. When he saw the camera, Lao Jian knew something was wrong. He grabbed some clothes, jumped out of bed and chased him out. As soon as he left the room and followed the corridor, he saw a chubby animal in the dark and narrow corridor, blocking the entire corridor. Living bear? No, panda. Where did the panda come from? Old Qian thought. He was dazzled. Lao Jian was still standing there carefully distinguishing whether it was a panda or a toy panda. The panda, smelling of alcohol, rushed towards him. The huge inertia suddenly threw Lao Jian to the ground, and slapped him in the face with the big bare paw. Fan it over. Lao Jian screamed, his eyes flashed with stars after being beaten, and he turned the corner with a howl. The panda didn't want to fight, and ran over to him, got into the next room, climbed onto the bench under the window, held the window open and jumped from the second floor. The people in the beauty salon were also alerted by such a commotion. A few minutes later, 2 men rushed up from downstairs. The lady in the room also ran out wearing clothes and helped Lao Jian up. Old Qian, how are you? Where's the panda? Did you see a panda just now? The corridor was empty, and there was no sign of the panda. Panda, where did the panda come from? The lady held back her laughter and shook her head. The panda flashed past just now, and the lights in the corridor were dim, so she didn't see it clearly at all. The 2 thugs usually rested in the back room in order not to scare the guests, but they came over just now when they heard the noise. There was a foreigner who rushed out of the door before. It was probably because the foreigner had a conflict with Director Qian and beat him. But in this big county, where do pandas come from? Even if there are pandas, they will not come to beauty salons, and pandas do not receive extensive health care. The 2 thugs, you look at me and I look at you, thinking, has the old money shot out all his brains and is he confused? Lao Jian spent the whole morning pondering in the office. Was this someone trying to trouble him, or was it just an accident? The foreigner looked like he was here for a trip. He drank too much and it was not surprising that he had a camera. But if someone wants to punish him, he will be in big trouble, if those photos are ironclad evidence. What happened to the panda? It's just a mystery. In the end, Lao Jian couldn't help but called a few capable friends and asked them to help investigate. Oh, I understand, a foreigner, a panda, the panda punched you, and then disappeared. I understand, I asked the brothers to check. If it weren't for the good relationship, the other party couldn't help but laugh. In one night, word spread in some small circles in the county that Lao Jian was jealous of a drunken foreigner at the beauty salon and was beaten up by the foreigner. Lao Jian was so proud that it must have been a panda. Why didn't you say it was Megatron who hit him? Wouldn't that be more respectable? That man didn't take it to heart at all. He couldn't afford to offend any of them, including old money, foreigners, and pandas. There was no need to stir up this muddy water. Lao Jian was restless in the office all day. When he was about to get off work, the leader of the superior department suddenly called and said in a very calm tone that Lao Jian should go to the county commission for discipline inspection early tomorrow morning. Boss, did you say something? Lao Jian's heart skipped a beat, and he knew something was wrong. Under normal circumstances, when government departments deal with their units, they must go through their directors, and it is impossible to call him directly. What's more, the other party has clearly mentioned the word county commission for discipline inspection. Calling him directly shows that the county is not prepared to sell off their director's face. The other party was silent, and Lao Jian's heart sank. A few seconds later, the rich voice of his superior directly rang on the other end of the phone, asking angrily, "What's going on between you and Sun Zhen? Lao Wu, such an honest man, can't do anything for you, so tell me." Mayor Wu of Suntown reported Director Qian with his real name. There is concrete evidence of prostitution, and the other is abuse of power. As long as he finds his relatives and confronts him, it will not be troublesome to investigate. When he got the news, the leader was furious. Suntown is so poor that it takes subsidies from the county every year, which is a heavy financial burden. Finally, if a capable man comes out and leads the people of Suntown to raise wild boars, he may be able to escape poverty in a year or two. The county's subsidies are no longer needed. At this time, the old money is still reaching out to Sunzhen. Isn't that causing trouble for the county? Furthermore, now that the party's conduct and discipline are so tight, the old money actually commits crimes and discredits the county. What is he doing? You can't even control yourself, and you still want to be promoted to manage the entire farmers market? Let's dream. Ah! Bamboo Town? Mayor Wu. Lao Jian understood everything at once. Stop talking, please explain the work at hand, the leader said in a deep voice. Lao Jian was so shocked that he sat down on the sofa, completely stunned. He dropped the phone and was unaware of it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 393. Lao Jian's incident happened quickly and he was dealt with quickly and without any mercy. He was directly expelled from the party. He was not expelled from public office, but he was allowed to retire early. Retiring in your 40s before you reach your 50s can make you famous. Su Ming was on his way back to the zoo. Tony finally got his wish and became a knight. Although he was a knight who broke into a beauty salon, the young man's sense of honor increased when he thought of being able to uphold justice. Zhao Yun was a little surprised. At first, he thought Su Ming would use the old method of using evidence to threaten Lao Jian. Unexpectedly, Su Ming directly gave the materials to Mayor Wu and asked him to send them to the county. Pull down Lao Jian in an upright manner. Threatening to win over? That's illegal. Su Ming shrugged. Why should I take the crooked path if I can't take the upright path? Huh, Zhao Yun squinted his eyes and smiled. Have you never thought that sooner or later he would know that pandas appeared in Suntown and realize that you were behind this? If he tells the investigators that he was beaten by a panda, do you believe they can send him to a mental hospital that same day? As for him finding out on his own. Su Ming smiled nonchalantly. Uncle Zhao, as soon as we come here I didn't break the law, so what if I find out? It really can't be done. Panda is legal, and Su Ming's arrest of Lao Jian is framed. The few times Panda punched him were not even minor injuries. At most, he could have stayed with him for a few hundred yuan. Your kid has now changed to the domineering route of pushing, Zhao Yun joked, and then analyzed, but this is fine, and there is no need to show kindness blindly. Sometimes it is not a bad thing to be tougher. If you go and ask for that old money, people may not buy it yet. The more Zhao Yun looked at Su Ming, the more he felt that this kid had grown up too fast. He was usually joking and joking, but he was able to get things done, and he was no worse than an old ghost who had been immersed in officialdom for many years. The matter is actually quite simple. Nowadays, the whole country is in a state of turmoil, and more importantly, the string is very tight. Lao Jian is not a civil servant, but is directly under the jurisdiction of the government. As long as there is conclusive evidence, he is not afraid of being pulled down. Obtaining evidence is easier. Lao Jian is too arrogant and can catch evidence with just a little care. Su Ming's approach is actually a bit of a joke. Zhao Yun would use a more secure method to do it. As the old saying goes, if you don't take advantage of the masses, let alone the pigs raised by the common people, Su Mingji said sternly, people like Lao Jian should get out. Cotters like Lao Wu should be promoted. You're kidding me, Zhao Yun laughed and said, okay, take me home first. After Su Ming returned to Yangchuan City, he learned that something had happened in Yangchuan City recently. First, the province sends commissioners to Yangchuan City to conduct on-site inspections and surveys of economic construction. This is done every year. Data and actual local conditions are collected from various places and reported layer by layer to provide high-level reference for overall planning. The overall economic situation of Yangchuan City has improved in recent years, and the GDP growth rate is among the best in the province. Wang Jianxi, the deputy mayor in charge of the economy, became the executive deputy mayor due to his outstanding work results, and he still focuses on economic construction. As the name suggests, Wang Jianxi focuses on construction, and his name is a good luck. People of their generation had very distinctive names, such as construction, patriotism, and patriotism. At least half of the people Su Ming knew of this age group had such names. After the people from the province left, Wang Jianxi took office. The first thing he did was to attend the city's economic development work meeting in the second half of the year. The city made a series of arrangements. At the end of the meeting, the mayor specifically mentioned, the construction of spiritual civilization and economic development must be done with both hands. The superior units have affirmed the economic construction of our city and hope that we can strengthen the construction of spiritual civilization and produce more outstanding deeds, such as the previous paragraph. Time, Comrade Su Ming from the zoo did a very good job for his bravery in Xiangjiang. Speaking of which, Su Ming won an honorary citizen title in Xiangjiang last time. This honorary citizen title appeared very timely. Even the Yangchuan city government followed suit and achieved a moderate political achievement. Soon, all units in Yangchuan city began a vigorous spiritual civilization construction. 2 days after Su Ming returned to the zoo, he was invited home by Wang Hao for a light meal. After eating, Wang Jianxi called Su Ming to the small study room alone. The two chatted for more than half an hour, talking both inside and outside. Meaning, Wang Jianxi hopes that the zoo will take the lead and further strengthen the construction of spiritual civilization. I'll take the lead. Oh no, the zoo will take the lead. Who will take the lead if you don't take the lead? The mayor praised you by name at the meeting. Wang Jianxi glared, what, you are still unwilling? It's not that Su Ming is unwilling. This is the work of the city that supports Wang Jianxi. It's not obligatory, but at least it's what the title says. But the problem was that he didn't understand. He asked, Uncle Wang, well, it's okay to take the lead, but I haven't really been responsible for how to do it. Should we hold a mobilization meeting, help the elderly cross the road, and help the poor, mountain donation? If so, it would be a bit of a formality. Su Ming thought to himself that since he decided to take the lead and support Wang Jianxi's work, he had to find a way to do it beautifully. If the things Lao Wang explained were ended in a hurry like an errand, Lao Wang would lose face. Wang Jianxi said with a smile, as for the specific form of spiritual civilization construction, there is no need to stick to the form. Each unit will carry out according to its actual situation. For example, the municipal library will carry out special reading activities. As long as it enriches the spiritual life of the people, it is fine. Since Wang Jianxi took the initiative to talk to Su Ming, it means that the city still attaches great importance to the construction of spiritual civilization this time. Wang Jianxi also revealed a message through Wang Hao that if the zoo is preparing to be selected as a 3 or 4 scenic spot in the future, spiritual civilization or humanistic construction will be a very important bonus option, and even a decisive factor, which is more important than those rules and regulations on paper. On the way back, Su Ming kept thinking about this matter in his heart. Several ideas came up in a row, but the ideas were not mature. After a little thinking, there were inappropriate places here and there, and they were all rejected. One person's wisdom is short, and the wisdom of the crowd is long. There are many old comrades in the zoo with rich experience, and they may be able to put forward good suggestions. So after returning to the zoo, a special meeting was held to gather the backbone employees and older employees in the zoo to let everyone brainstorm and think about what the zoo should do. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 394. In the zoo conference room, after Su Ming conveyed the city's opinions, several old employees couldn't help but complain. Director, we have already restructured the system, and the city is still gesticulating. In my opinion, just hold 2 spiritual civilization seminars and write a report to deal with it. That's right. In the past, when the efficiency was not good, we thought we were not making money. Now that the zoo can make some money, we have to engage in spiritual civilization? Isn't this a pure waste of time? If we have the energy, we can't do these false tricks. Time spent on work. This is not the first time that the construction of spiritual civilization has been carried out. It has been carried out every year in the past. Everyone present knew clearly that it was all a false routine and a waste of time. In the past, before the zoo was restructured, we would go to get off work and get off work every day, and use the money regularly every month to do the same thing. It was just messing around. But things are different now. The benefits of the zoo are getting better day by day. Individual work and performance are directly linked. If you do practical things down to earth, you can make more money. No one wants to waste energy on pursuing spiritual civilization. To put it bluntly, time in the past was not valuable, and doing spiritual civilization was just to kill time. Now time is valuable, and doing spiritual civilization again is a waste of life. After patiently waiting for several employees to finish speaking, Su Ming waved his hand. That cannot be said completely. No matter how the zoo is restructured, it will still be a unit serving science popularization, and the construction of spiritual civilization and humanities is indispensable. What's more, the national situation is like this. Complaining can't solve any problems. We as an enterprise, we cannot expect that the market and the government will follow our ideas, but we must take the initiative to solve problems. Moreover, this will also be helpful for the selection of scenic spots in the future. When it came to selecting scenic spots, Su Ming was a little unconvinced. National 3A, 4A, and 5A scenic spots all have clear standards, and each clause is very clear. There are so many scenic spots, but they can't meet the standard requirements at all, but they can be rated. For example, a certain ancient building in the provincial capital or a newly built large park are full of humanistic atmosphere. So even though he spoke with a smile, Su Ming's tone became a little serious when it came to the second half of the sentence. After living in the qi and cultivating the body, Su Ming naturally had an aura of calmness and authority after being a leader for a period of time. The director is right. How can you complain when you encounter some problems when running a business? They are all old employees of the zoo. They have watched the zoo step by step until it is now. The zoo was so difficult at the beginning. Su Yun, the old director of the Song Dynasty chief, have you ever seen them complain when they encounter so many difficulties? Sister Tong gave full play to her role as party committee secretary. Hey, director, we're not complaining, we just want to do something practical, the man from before quickly explained. The library has a book special project and free reading to help citizens increase their reading. Then we can do an animal special project and free admission, someone suggested. This statement immediately drew a blank stare. The library does not rely on borrowing fees to survive. With financial allocations, the zoo relies on tickets to survive. Without tickets, dozens of employees will go to your house to eat every day. The representative veterinarian from the medical center said slowly, how about I go to provide free clinics for tourists? The scene suddenly became quiet, and everyone's expression suddenly became very strange. Sister Tong was drinking tea, and she couldn't hold it in anymore, so she spit it out. She quickly wiped her mouth and said to the veterinarian with an apologetic smile, I don't have anything else. It means veterinarians have excellent skills in treating animals. As for treating people, forget it before any unexpected disputes arise. Animals cannot speak, and if they cannot be cured or even die, they will consider themselves unlucky. People are not as easy to talk as animals. After Sister Tong finished spraying, she considered and said, the zoo goes to the school every year to do science popularization and introduce animals to students. This is the construction of spiritual civilization. Director Su, last time Runhu, a public school, organized students to conduct a field development activity at the zoo. The effect is not bad. How about taking advantage of Children's Day? I contact the schools in the city and do another science popularization? Well, that's a good idea, Su Ming nodded. But it's just good. Science popularization work is done every year. The zoo is large and schools and units often organize student employees to go on outings or field trips. This is the zoo's regular business, not outstanding. Section Chief Dong, who was born in the Special Forces, has an upright temperament but also needs to be strong. He said, since the city regards us as a role model, I don't know how many eyes are staring at us. Either we don't do it, or if we do, we have to make some noise come. Su Ming still admires this aspect of old Dong. He never hides behind when trouble comes. He is a real man who fights with his chest. But if you want to do something well, determination and courage are not enough, you must also have a good way. The difficulty lies in standing out. The routines of spiritual civilization have almost been played to death. Each unit only has a few tricks. For example, the library organizes Book Month, which is also held every year. Afterwards, a news release will show how much the library's reading volume has increased this month. The number of citizens who come to borrow books has increased. To put it bluntly, no one even bothers to read that kind of bad news. As for cultural construction, the cultural landscape of the zoo is all nonsense. Shuahun Lake is said to be the place where Cao trained his navy. Even a 7 or 8-year-old child cannot be deceived. Ming and Qing residence is said to be a Ming and Qing building, and no one pays 30 yuan for a ticket to see it, let alone Tingfeng Pavilion, Yangchu, on the city's best retro sightseeing spot. Because it couldn't survive, it was turned into a small hotel. Lanruo Temple Hot Spring and Chen Yaoliang's tomb in the back mountain are relatively reliable, but they have not been completed yet. Since he was ready to spend energy on doing it as a serious matter, Su Ming certainly hoped that it would not only be a formality to deal with the job, but also to make real progress, whether it was popularizing knowledge or promoting the zoo, at least not to waste energy and financial resources. The phenomenon of school bullying is very serious now. Otherwise, next time there is an expansion, I will teach students self-defense. The old boss's eyes flashed with cold light. Cough, cough, cough. Su Ming felt a chill in his throat and other vital parts. He had seen the old boss's self-defense skills. As a special forces soldier, the old boss's concept of self-defense was different from that of ordinary people. In the old boss's view, the best defense is offense. One move to defeat the enemy, kill or cripple the opponent, naturally plays the role of self-defense. Su Ming would not dare to let the old boss teach students these tricks even if he was beaten to death. What about removing the chin and removing the arms is relatively mild. Locking the throat, cracking the egg kick, and buckling the eye finger are the old boss's signature skills. If all these are taught to students, the consequences will be disastrous. By then, bullying will be gone, but the school will have one more cold-blooded little killer. After an afternoon meeting, employees expressed their opinions. 4 or 5 of them were barely usable, but there were not many bright spots. As the saying goes, there are bright spots in the West. The meeting did not produce any good results, but Shenyan's newly established data analysis team had some work results. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 395. If Su Ming remembered correctly, it was less than a week ago that he asked Shenyan to set up a data analysis team. The establishment of this team was inspired by the Hong Kong Ocean Park and was a long-term plan. He did not expect this team to play a role in a short period of time. Even if there was no effect within 1 or 2 years, it was acceptable. Unexpectedly, in just 1 week, Shenyan not only established an analysis team, but also achieved some work results. There is a reason why Shenyan worked so hard. There is a saying that a scholar will die for his confidant, and there is another saying that money can make the devil work. If the boss can give employees generous financial treatment and truly respect and understand employees, then there is no reason for employees not to work hard for the company. Shenyan's company was initially responsible for the construction of the zoo's network platform. Su Ming saw that Shenyan was indeed reliable, and soon handed over the information construction of the entire zoo and several companies under his command, and all the software and hardware to Shenyan. Now Su Ming has become Shenyan's biggest boss. To a certain extent, he has indeed achieved these 2 sentences, that is, giving Shenyan wealth, but also trust and affirmation. Heroes appreciate heroes. Shenyan started his own business from scratch. What he admired most was capable people. After a long time with Su Ming, he felt that this old classmate was capable but not arrogant, flexible, and principled. He even regarded Su Ming as a role model. Taking several factors into consideration, Su Ming's casual words were an important task in Shenyan's eyes, so of course he would do his best. After mentioning data analysis last time, Shenyan transferred 2 young employees from the company that day, plus himself, to form a 3-person team. There were not many people, but technical work never relied on numbers to win. 3 skilled and enthusiastic young people devoted themselves to the work, collected and summarized the data of the zoo information system, including the live broadcast platform, and screened and analyzed it. According to the abnormalities of the data, they had a targeted understanding of the corresponding business of the zoo, and achieved certain results in a short period of time. Regardless of the size of the results, Shenyan's attitude is absolutely worthy of recognition. Su Ming went to Shenyan's company to listen to the report. The company is located in a commercial and residential building in a remote area. The house with 4 bedrooms and 2 living rooms has been slightly renovated. There are only 7 or 8 employees, all of whom are young people with positive energy and full of hope for the future. The 3-person data analysis team, in addition to Shenyan, there are 1 man and 1 woman. Boss Su, this time we mainly analyze the customer flow of each room on the live broadcast platform. The source of the data is obtained by monitoring 7*24 hours a day after the live broadcast platform has stabilized. Su, please introduce it. The girl is called Xiao Su. She wears a pair of glasses and has a few freckles on her face. She is pretty. She is reporting to the boss of the boss face to face. Xiao Su is a little nervous. She coughed and cleared her throat. She pointed to the graphics on the projection screen with the small light spot of the laser pen and said, "Boss Su, please look at the first picture. This is the total collection of the flow of people and gift income in each room. 3-column charts, 2 columns in a group, one represents the total customer flow of this room during the statistical period, and the other represents the total income of this room during the statistical period. The 3 pictures together have dozens of columns, representing the various live broadcast rooms of the zoo. These columns are high and low, and the highest is even more than 10 times the lowest. We have arranged this picture, and it can be clearly seen that the total passenger flow is proportional to the total income. The higher the passenger flow, the higher the income. This can be guessed without analysis." After Xiao Su finished speaking, he probably thought it was nonsense and smiled unconfidently. Su Ming nodded slightly and encouraged her to continue with his eyes. "Well, based on income and traffic, we divide the live broadcast rooms into 3 levels." Another team member, Xiao He, clicked on the computer, and some columns in the bar chart on the big screen suddenly changed color. The color that changed means that there is a live broadcaster in this room. "Mr. Su, we found a very interesting phenomenon." When it comes to the key point, Xiao Su emphasized his tone. "Not every room in the first tier has a live broadcaster, but in the last tier, there are several rooms with live broadcasters. The anchor rooms, in the 3 grades, are large at the 2 ends and small in the middle. In other words, a large part of the most profitable and least profitable rooms have human anchors." Su Ming's eyes lit up. This is a problem worth noting. Because according to common sense, the presence of human anchors should increase the room's traffic. But according to this data, it is not the case. We went to the zoo for a field survey and found that the actual visitor traffic between the lowest grade room animals and the highest grade room animals is not much different. Then the problem should be with the anchors, so we have mobilized several representative anchor materials and live broadcast recordings. On one side of the screen, a row of avatars and personal information appeared. Among them, there are 5 pretty girls. Among these 5 girls, only 1 room made it to the first grade, 2 were in the second grade, and 2 were in the third grade. This is even more interesting. When Su Ming asked Wang how to select people, he emphasized not to choose too coquettish ones, and the live broadcast platform could not rely on selling coquettishness as a highlight. It was to prevent touching the red line and build a green platform. If we don't consider this issue, pretty girls who are flirting will definitely attract more audiences. Nowadays, many online live broadcast platforms, regardless of whether they are playing game live broadcast or any other name, are like this. So, in order to ensure the purity of the live broadcast platform, Su Ming has sacrificed certain interests. But now it seems that this is not the case. The performance of several beautiful female anchors is actually below average. Among them, the most goddess girl next door introduced by Ren Chen is directly at the bottom. Next, Su Ming watched several live broadcast videos. The more the female anchor deliberately shows off her charm, highlights herself, and even actively asks for gifts in the live broadcast, the worse the performance is. Such rooms receive gifts very rarely, but occasionally there will be rich people who send big gifts. In the first tier rooms, there are few big gifts, but small gifts are constant. Is it because the audience of the zoo live broadcast platform is different from that of other platforms? Su Ming asked. We also guess this way. But guessing alone is not enough. There must be scientific figures to prove it, so we have counted some other data as support. The projection screen turned into several contrasting line graphs to analyze the customer base of the live broadcast platform. From the point of view of time, the zoo live broadcast platform has the most traffic during weekends, mornings, and afternoons, and relatively few at night. There is almost no one after 10 o'clock in the evening, and these few companies that you, Mr. Su, are selling. Xiao Su almost said that it was okay for Su Ming to say the word selling coquettishly, but she was embarrassed to say it directly as a girl, so she changed the word and said, well, the platforms that rely on beautiful women to attract attention, on the contrary, the viewing time is mainly concentrated in the evening and early morning, and the traffic is relatively small during working hours. In addition, Mr. Shen conducted several surveys. The users of our platform are as high as 44% female, while the proportion of females on other platforms is less than 15%. In terms of age, both sides are under 18 years old, but 23% of our users are over 40 years old, while other platforms have only 6%. The analysis team provided several more data, including details such as under what circumstances the frequency of audience rewards is the highest. Finally, a report was produced, which analyzed the audience characteristics of the Zoo live broadcast platform in detail, and based on this, several very targeted development and revision suggestions were put forward. Very good, Su Ming took the analysis report and took a few glances, and his heart was moved. This data analysis is simply an automatic navigation system in the operation of the enterprise. As long as you simply move forward according to the direction shown by the navigation system, there will be no major deviation. Mr. Su, in terminology, we call this the management cockpit. Of course, what you see today is just a corner of the management cockpit, which needs to be improved, Xiao Su explained with a smile. Well, it's a very appropriate name. Su Ming nodded with satisfaction. Old Shen, the management cockpit work will proceed in this direction, and several of my companies will also be included. If you need funds, just report to me directly. With this report, Su Ming not only clearly grasped the operation of the network platform, but also saw the direction of spiritual civilization construction. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 396. If we interpret the word from the dictionary, spiritual civilization refers to ideology, morality, education, science, and culture. Of course, the construction of spiritual civilization should be carried out around these keywords. The problem is that if we only focus on these few words, it is difficult to have a practical method to start with words. In actual work, the so-called spiritual civilization fitness, as Wang Jianxi said, is carried out by different units according to the actual conditions of the unit. A relatively low-level method was proposed by someone at the previous Zoo meeting, holding 2 seminars and making a summary report. A slightly more meaningful method is to do some tangible acts of kindness, such as donating money, planting trees, and helping the elderly cross the road. Beating up disobedient naughty children, helping couples break up. However, neither of these methods can reflect the characteristics of the unit. If you want to do a good job in building spiritual civilization, it is far from enough to rely on these 2 methods. You must reflect the characteristics of the unit, use the unique resources of the unit, and serve the people you serve. Or the unit's customers, bringing positive spiritual energy. Su Ming likes the word positive energy more and more, and he can put anything in it. Su Ming's initial idea for building spiritual civilization was to start from the internet platform. The live broadcast platform is based on the internet and is open to the whole country. It can also be said that it is open to the whole world and the entire universe. As long as you have access to the internet, you can click to enter the platform. Therefore, the number of people that the live broadcast platform can affect is far greater than the number of tourists who come to the zoo every day. It also has the best effect. After leaving Shenyan's company and returning to the zoo, Su Ming carefully studied the report of the data analysis team and used detailed data to prove the characteristics of the audience of the zoo's online platform. What the viewers on this platform want from the live broadcast platform is not to have long and straight black breasts and posing cute animals, the harmonious coexistence of people and animals, and something that can really move people and touch people's hearts are the foundation of the live broadcast platform. Su Ming sent an electronic version of the analysis report to Wang Hao. After reading it, Wang Hao rushed directly to Su Ming's office. It was already past 9 o'clock in the evening when he came, and Su Ming was holding a bowl of instant noodles and sipping on it. Logically speaking, after having Hong Fi Fei, Su Ming should be able to enjoy spicy food all day long. However, seeing that Hong Fi Fei was supervising the work at the Tingfeng Pavilion construction site day and night, working extremely hard every day, Su Ming could not be more shameless. "Ho, I'm too embarrassed to squeeze her anymore, so I just eat whatever I want when I'm hungry. I'll take a few bites before talking." He raised his head and said to Wang Hao. "I haven't eaten either." Wang Hao has lost a lot of weight recently. He was wearing a crisp suit. After entering the door, he loosened his tie and took a bowl of Laotan pickled cabbage noodles from behind Su Ming's desk, drinking water. "I soaked in hot water from the machine, and soon the room was filled with the smell of pickled cabbage." "Why don't you eat until now?" Su Mingqi asked. "Hey, it's not a matter of the online platform. The anchors on the platform are all freelancers. They are used to being unorganized and very difficult to manage. In fact, I am vaguely aware of the phenomenon in the report, but I don't have accurate numbers to support it. This report couldn't be more timely." Wang Hao pressed the instant noodles into the hot water with a small fork and said, "I talked to the female anchors with the lowest performance several times before, hoping that they could change their hosting style. Guess what? There is no need to guess. The girl is young and beautiful, and may have some background, so she may not take the leader Wang Hao seriously. Isn't that right? If you have a good attitude, you know how to act coquettishly. If you have a bad attitude, you will just give me a cold face." Wang Hao smiled bitterly and said, "I understand what I mean. I came to the live broadcast just to use this platform. To increase your own popularity, the gift money comes second. You can't let animals take the spotlight." Su Ming frowned. "Are you kidding me, Fatty? You are the leader. The entertainment company is now giving you full responsibility. You can't solve this problem. Let a few little girls' films get into your nose and face. There are orders and prohibitions, and military orders are like mountains, not only for the military, but also for enterprises. If employees regard the leader's words as fart, how can the company operate? If the leader has no authority, how can the company be managed? Could it be that the fat man fell into a beauty trap? What are you thinking about, Fatty?" Wang waved his hand and explained, "With the dividends from the entertainment company, I'm not short of money, and there are plenty of women I can find. Even if I'm not promising, I won't be able to live on the sidelines. Let personal matters interfere with work. Then you don't care? Running a business is not about treating guests to dinner. You have to be ruthless towards troublesome employees," Su Ming said. "The others are easy to deal with. There is one named Nana who is the most thorny." Nana, Su Ming felt that the name was familiar. After thinking about it for a moment, he recalled that this Nana was introduced by Ren Chen, and they had met her once at the Huayin County Hotel last time. No wonder he is so arrogant. Even the boss Wang Hao doesn't look down on him. His relationship relies on having a big boss behind him. With this Nana taking the lead into satisfying Wang Hao, several anchors with poor performance also followed suit. Instead of looking for the reasons themselves, they shifted the responsibility to the entertainment company, accusing the entertainment company of poor management and management. Wang Hao had a headache. Wang Hao was not afraid of offending Ren Chen. Ren Chen had previously revealed his intention to make amends with Su Ming, and Su Ming accepted it in disguise. Wang Hao tolerated this Nana because he was worried that it would affect the relationship between Su Ming and Ren Chen. Trouble? Su Ming shook his head and sneered. There was no big conflict between himself and Ren Chen, but there were always some blind people who deliberately created conflicts. After thinking about it, I found Ren Chen's phone number from the desk drawer and dialed it. "Hello, this is Ren Chen, who is this?" A young but not frivolous voice came from the other end of the phone. As the chairman of a listed company, Ren Chen still has a certain aura. "Mr. Ren, I'm Su Ming," Su Ming said. Ren Chen was obviously stunned for a moment. He didn't expect Su Ming to call him on his own initiative. His attitude suddenly changed drastically. He laughed. "Hey, Mr. Su, hello, hello, I was just looking for an opportunity to come to your house to thank you for saving my life last time in Huayin County. I'm afraid to disturb you." Ren Chen was soft and hard here, one after another, and he didn't dare to take the initiative to find Su Ming. "I have something to tell you in advance." Su Ming roughly asked about his relationship with Nana. In his words, he intentionally revealed his dissatisfaction with Nana. "Nana? Oh, she was so busy running around at the Huayin County Hotel last time that she almost killed me. I broke up with her when I came back." "What, did she offend you again?" "She's really asking for trouble, President Su. You can do whatever you want." "Okay, then I won't give you face." Su Ming laughed, hung up the phone, turned to Wang Hao and said indifferently, "What to do, what to do?" Since Su Ming has cleared the obstacles and will not affect his relationship with Ren Chen because of a woman, Wang Hao certainly knows how to deal with it. "I understand, this kind of black sheep should be kicked out of the revolutionary team to avoid leading other comrades astray." Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 397. The next day, the zoo live broadcast platform had internal personnel changes. A female anchor named Nana had a big fight with Wang Hao and slammed the door and left. There were rumors that she was fired, and some people said that Nana resigned and jumped to another live broadcast platform. Afterwards, Wang Hao sent an electronic version of the data analysis report to each anchor, and determined the future development direction and anchor style tone of the zoo live broadcast platform. Wang Hao convened an internal meeting of the live broadcast platform. At the meeting, Wang Hao said with a rare serious attitude that since the right direction has been found, it is necessary to go in the right direction. There is no room for questioning this simple truth. If there are anchors who do not understand or agree with the company's philosophy, they can talk to Wang Hao privately. If they really can't accept it, it doesn't matter. Everyone will part ways in peace. Daowin Entertainment will never make things difficult for them, nor will it deduct the income they deserve. In front of the detailed data, Su Ming instructed Wang Hao to deal with it decisively, and it can even be said that he used both kindness and force. After this meeting, it played a role in unifying understanding and rallying people's hearts to a certain extent. After the internal personnel changes, the live broadcast platform released a major news. The live broadcast platform will launch a new column with a simple name, called Me and It, and each issue will have a special guest. At the same time, Daowin Yuke's Weibo also updated this information. Daowin Yuke's fans are about to exceed 1 million. Unlike those operating Weibo accounts, Daowin Yuke's fans are all real people, with almost no zombie fans and robot fans, so the discussion area is usually very active and lively. Not long after this news came out, there was a lot of discussion on Weibo. "This name is so weird, Me and It. Stupid, 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 stupid. What's so weird about this? It must be an animal, haha, I guessed it, the live host lives with animals. Reality show? Or show, this is not good, it will be blocked. Those who say show are beasts. I only care about who the special guests are. It should be a star, many stars have pets now. I don't think so, the star's appearance fee is too expensive, it's okay to do it occasionally. If you invite a star for every episode, how much will it cost?" That's not necessarily true. Stars have high appearance fees, many fans, and can receive many gifts. This is a public welfare activity, stars should not charge, it is also a publicity for themselves. At director, please come out and explain. What exactly does this I and the animals mean? It must be about the story between the owner and the pet. Is there any need to ask? I just want to say that I think it's hypocritical for celebrities to show off their pets in the live broadcast room. What's hypocritical? I agree with what was said above. Celebrities must show their good side in front of the public. Even if they are not putting on a show, I think they are putting on a show. You have a fragile heart and paranoia. There was a lot of discussion on Weibo, but Su Ming did not explain anything specifically. He just left a start time and set up a suspense to whet everyone's appetite. The news of starting a new column is mostly curiosity for the audience. But for other live broadcast room hosts, it is an invisible pressure. The room has not yet officially started broadcasting, but it has attracted the attention of the audience. It is conceivable that once it starts broadcasting in the future, it will definitely pose a competition to them. Among these hosts, some people with intentions have a certain understanding of Su Ming, the real big boss. According to Su Ming's past experience, every time he comes up with a new thing, it can cause a small earthquake. This new I-ended program must be no exception. If it is really like what is discussed online, inviting stars in every episode, then the limelight of the other rooms will be snatched away. The anchors are also a little puzzled. What is the situation of this I-ended room? Su Ming's career is not small, and his social connections are quite wide. It is possible to invite 1 or 2 stars occasionally. In fact, since the first episode of Han Yuefu, 3 mainland stars with some fame have hosted live broadcasts. As netizens said, they are all public welfare and there is no appearance fee. Moreover, every time a star comes, gifts are sent everywhere. But if a star room is specially opened and stars are invited to be anchors in every episode, Su Ming does not seem to have the strength now. There is pressure, there is motivation, and there will be progress only if there is competition. The I-ended program has not yet officially started, and the effect is still unknown. But other anchors on the live broadcast platform have worked harder than before, and the flow of people and performance in the room have increased significantly. This is also a subsidiary effect brought by the program I-ended. The staff of the zoo have been a little puzzled these days. Last time, Director Su held a special meeting to talk about the construction of spiritual civilization. It seems that he attaches great importance to it. According to common sense, the entire zoo will carry out a vigorous campaign for a period of time, and spend a lot of energy and time on the superficial work of spiritual civilization. Most people are actually not willing to waste this time. But as Su Ming said in the previous meeting, it has to be done. Since you can't resist, just treat it as enjoyment. The zoo employees are full of energy and wait for the assignment of work. But strangely, after waiting for a long time, there is no movement in the zoo. Sister Tong went to the director's office to ask for a few words. After returning, she said to everyone in a relaxed manner, the director said that everyone should do what they should do. So, there is no need to build spiritual civilization, someone asked tentatively, hearing a clue from Sister Tong's words. It's best not to do it. I might as well sell a few more barrels of feed when I have time, Nurse Xiao Hu said with her hands on her waist. I can make hundreds of dollars every day. That's right, our cruise ship is also full every day, Master Peng laughed. You guys. Sister Tong pointed out, Director Su said that we should change our thinking and not always think that spiritual civilization is just a bluff. As long as we can do it well, spiritual civilization construction can also play a big role. Sister Tong, I found that you have a catchphrase now. You always say, Director Su said, just like reciting the chairman's quotations. An old employee who is familiar with Sister Tong joked. Of course, if you have the ability of Director Su, I will say that you said it, Sister Tong said like a tongue twister. There were different movements in various aspects. Shenyan's data analysis team shifted their attention to the upcoming I-ended column. Su-ming planned to make this column a regular one, or even several episodes a week. If the expected effect can be achieved, it can not only spread positive energy and promote animal protection, but also greatly strengthen the connection between the zoo and the audience and tourists. One Saturday afternoon, during the time period with the highest audience flow, the I&It Room finally started broadcasting. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 398. The live broadcast room is in a small office in the zoo. With the help of TV professionals, the office was converted into a studio similar to a TV talk show. Except for its small size, it has all the facilities and looks very professional. Before the live broadcast began, Shenyan's team had already started real-time data monitoring, and displayed the monitored network data in the most intuitive chart form on a computer opposite Su-ming's seat, which was clear at a glance. The bar chart representing the number of people in each room fluctuated. Among them, the column of the I&It column began to grow and lengthen 10 minutes before the show started. Before the show started, it rushed forward from the last place and soon stabilized in the top 10, and the data was still rising. In the live broadcast room, Su-ming sat in front of the camera on his left hand, and the special guest sat opposite him. Surprisingly, this special guest was neither a star nor a handsome man or a beautiful woman. He looked like an ordinary person, wearing a very ordinary casual sportswear, with wrinkles on his face, and he was at least in his 60s, no different from the old man who took a walk in the park every morning. Not only are the human guests unexpectedly ordinary, but the animal guests are even more ordinary. They are neither rare national treasure protected animals nor pets with silly and cute characteristics, but the most common Chinese rural dog, commonly known as a native dog. A native dog with a yellowish earth color, quietly lying in the arms of the old man. Since it is the first episode, Su-ming guest starred as a host today. It is impossible for Su-ming to do it in every episode in the future, so in addition to him and the guests, there are also several hosts who are resting today, who are also in the live studio, in a place behind the camera that cannot be captured, to observe and learn. These hosts will take turns to host in the future. The room is only a dozen square meters, and the space is very small. Su-ming and the old guest occupy most of the space. After removing the space required for the camera, there is not much space left. Several hosts stood in a row against the wall behind the camera like they were being punished, and each of them held a small notebook in their hands to record their thoughts. The conditions are difficult, but the hosts don't care, as long as they can learn skills and broaden their horizons. The I&It column was kept secret. Before it was even aired, it had already attracted a lot of attention. Being selected by Su-ming to observe and learn on site was a rare opportunity, which would definitely be helpful for the anchor's career, so at the beginning, all these anchors were eager to try. However, when they learned the real content of the I&It column, especially after seeing the guests in front of them, these anchors were all a little frustrated and disappointed, and they were deeply worried about the column. Other live broadcasts would like to use the rarest animals to attract attention. But now, an ordinary old man, a local dog that can be seen everywhere on the street, can the audience buy it? The advantage of the zoo is that there are animals that ordinary people are not allowed to keep, or cannot keep. Whether it is the audience or the tourists, what they want to see is the animals that they don't usually have around them. If you just want to see the local dog, why bother to watch it online, not to mention spending money to send gifts? Besides, the appearance of this dog is really not flattering. It is old and dull. It has not moved much for a long time. It looks like it is about to die. It is the kind that you can't find it in a group of dogs. There are many such stray dogs in any low-end residential area. Some anchors have even concluded in their hearts that President Su has gone too far this time and is afraid that he will ruin the company. They are all employees of the live broadcast platform. Of course, they hope that the live broadcast platform will get better and better, and they will also rise with the tide. However, Now that the live broadcast is imminent, it is too late to remind Su Ming. Although the data in the room looks good, it has rushed into the top 10 before the broadcast, but that is because of curiosity. Once the true face of the INIT column is discovered, what will the audience react? The screen is full of curses, or silently exit the room. Well, let it be. There are also some anchors who are more or less gloating. I thought to myself, Mr. Wang and Mr. Su are so awesome. They said that our anchor style has problems and cannot cater to the zoo market. Well, then you can do it yourself. The market is the only criterion for testing the truth. When this INIT program fails and the audience goes crazy, will you still be embarrassed to blame us? The anchors were thinking about a lot of things, and as the person involved, Su Ming had no sense of going to ruin the show. He looked at his watch calmly. There were only 20 seconds left before the broadcast. Teacher He, are you ready? Su Ming asked the old man opposite. Well, okay, the old man called Teacher He coughed dryly a few times, and was obviously still a little nervous. On the contrary, the yellow dog in his arm seemed to feel the owner's emotions, stretched out his rough tongue, and licked the back of Teacher He's hand a few times, as if to comfort the owner. Okay, get ready, countdown, 3, 2, 1. Start broadcasting. The camera lit up, and the scene in the room was transmitted to thousands of viewers at the same time through the internet. It's over, one of the most pessimistic anchors covered his face. The screen appeared for only 2 or 3 seconds, and before Su Ming had time to speak, a lot of comments appeared in the live broadcast room. Huh? Isn't this the director? So the director himself came down to host. I'll give the director 99 mantis shrimps, and the director must not wet the bed after eating them. The director is actually an old man. My heart is broken, let me be alone for a while. I have fainted in the toilet. Where is the beautiful boy? This is because he has never seen the director's true face. Someone immediately corrected, idiot, the one on the right is the director. Time is really a butcher's knife, director, you are about to grow ugly, just like these hip-hop monkeys. A row of hip-hop monkey gifs jumped across the screen. Before the live broadcast officially started, the messages in the live broadcast room were scrolling rapidly, and gifs were flying all over the sky. From the data analysis chart, the number of people in the live broadcast room has continued to rise steadily, and the instantaneous gift peak is even close to the time when Han Yuefa was the anchor. It has a good start. However, the anchors present knew very well that the audience's short-term enthusiasm was not because the program was good, but because of the fan effect. For the director's face, the director showed up for the first time to host, and the audience just showed up. Sure enough, after the first few minutes of excitement, the number of gifts gradually decreased, and the audience's attention finally shifted to Teacher He and his dog. Director? Who is this old man? Didn't they say there would be a star? Could it be some old artist with both virtue and talent? We are too young to have seen his performances. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 399. In the final analysis, the real attention of the audience in the room is for the INIT column itself. After the promotion on Weibo, the specific speculation about this column has triggered many heated discussions. The audience and Weibo fans have speculated what kind of big-name stars and big-name animals director Su will invite this time. But after waiting for so long, they saw an ordinary old man. The old man is fine, but what about that lazy dog? What's the fun? To be honest, many people felt a huge gap in their hearts in addition to being puzzled. The passenger flow data of the room is the most intuitive proof. It has stopped growing and maintained at the 10th place, which is very close to the 11th place behind. There are constantly new viewers joining the live broadcast room, but the total number does not increase. It can only mean that some viewers have withdrawn, and the number of in and out remains balanced. If you don't advance, you will retreat. According to the rules of the live broadcast room, if nothing unexpected happens, the number of people will soon start to invert and be anally exploded by the back, leaving the leading position in the top 10. Most of the audience were still in the live broadcast room, on the one hand, because the program had not really started yet. After all, there was still anticipation. On the other hand, it could be said that they were doing it for Su Ming's sake. Su Ming is now a grassroots star himself. Let me introduce to you all, the guest we invited today is Mr. He, a retired teacher from the 2nd Affiliated Primary School of Yangchuan City. Oh, and his pet dog, Wang Wang. Su Ming smiled and pointed the camera at Mr. He. Mr. He, say hello to everyone. The audience and the anchors in the room were stunned again. Why did they invite a teacher? Is he going to give everyone a math class? Or a physical education class? Hello, everyone, my name is He Weiguo, an ordinary math teacher who retired last year. Oh, this is Wang Wang. Wang Wang, say hello to everyone. Mr. He smiled at the camera a little stiffly, and his speech was not very fluent. Although he had been a teacher for many years, it was his first time to be on the live broadcast, so he was inevitably a little nervous. Wang Wang, the native dog in his arms, was not afraid of strangers at all. He stood up from Teacher He's arms and barked at the camera a few times. When Wang Wang was lying in Teacher He's arms just now, no one noticed it. But when Wang Wang stood up, they were shocked to find that this native dog, who had been lying quietly, was actually disabled. One of his hind legs was lame. After standing up, he half curled up under his body. So pitiful. Teacher He, what's wrong with your Wang Wang's leg? Su Ming spoke at the right time, and his slightly magnetic voice sounded in the live broadcast room. Wang Wang is 12 years old this year. For a Chinese rural dog, 12 years old is already old age, just like humans in their 60s or 70s. When Wang Wang was very young, Wang Wang was still a stray dog. He was injured in an accident and has been adopted by Teacher He ever since. Teacher He nodded slightly on the side and touched Wang Wang's head lovingly. The native dog Wang Wang lay down obediently again. Teacher He, you are awesome. I also saw a wounded dog lying in the rain last time. It was soaked and looked so pitiful. I wanted to take it home, but my mother didn't allow me to keep a dog. I went to see it the next day and it was gone. Maybe it was dead, woohoo. I support Teacher He's loving behavior. There are a few stray cats downstairs. I bring food from the cafeteria to feed them every day after get off work. Now they are very friendly to me. In the live broadcast room, the audience's speeches began to increase again, accompanied by some small gifts of small amounts. As Shen Yan said in the audience analysis, the vast majority of the audience on the Zoo live broadcast platform have a loving heart and are full of kindness. Among them, there are a few very extreme loving people. Of course, from a personal value perspective, Su Ming does not support extreme animal protection behavior. Teacher He, as far as I know, your retirement salary is not low, and your children have all started families, so there is no financial burden. If you just want to raise a pet, you can raise some higher-end animals. Why do you choose to raise a local dog? And a lame local dog? Su Ming calmly guided the topic. Haha, it doesn't matter what you raise. I'm old, so I don't think so much. Wang Wang is usually my companion. But, well. Teacher He seemed to have something to say, and was considering the wording, but didn't know how to express it for a while. Teacher He, drink a sip of water. No hurry. Su Ming handed over a glass of water. Okay, thank you. Teacher He took the water cup and drank a sip, calmed down, and then continued, it's like this, I raise Wang Wang, which is probably related to my childhood experience. It's a long story. A large projection was slowly released from the back of the live broadcast room. There was a yellowed old photo in the projection. The back of the photo was a rural countryside. Several adults and children were squatting in the yard listlessly, and they were all hungry and skinny. Teacher He, like usual, naturally touched Wang Guang's head and told the story. The live broadcast room calmed down again. There were no messages or gifts. Everyone was listening to Teacher He's story quietly. At the beginning, Teacher He was a little nervous, but soon, he gradually relaxed and seemed to have returned to that period. It was the 1960s. There was a famine in the whole country and no food to eat. Teacher He was only 8 years old at that time and lived in the city with his parents who worked in the factory. At that time, adult workers in the city only had 2 taels of food coupons a day, which was not enough to support a large family of children, so Mr. He's parents sent him to his uncle's house in the countryside to spend the winter. It was a very strange period. Life in the countryside was better than in the city. Although there was a shortage of food, there were many wild vegetables and coarse grains in the fields and mountains, which could barely make a living. What impressed me most was that my uncle had a big dog. In my memory, it was gray. The dog always squatted in front of the door and faithfully guarded the door. Old He, oh, it was still little He at that time. When I saw the big dog for the first time, I was scared and curious. The local dog at home was very human and never barked at the owner. Little He soon got familiar with it and became friends. He always squatted face to face with it and gently stroked its face and head with his hands. The big gray dog licked Little He's hand with his big tongue. Xiao He remembers very clearly that when he first saw the big gray dog yawn, his upper teeth were like a washboard. At that time, Xiao He was so happy that he excitedly told this secret to his friends. A group of guys gathered around and squatted in front of the big gray dog, waiting for a long time, just to wait for the big gray dog to yawn again, but that day the big gray dog was energetic and did not yawn for the whole morning, which made Xiao He very embarrassed. It can be said that the big gray dog added a touch of lively color to Lao He's almost gloomy childhood. Although life in the countryside is better than in the city, it is also very hard. Moreover, there are already 7 or 8 relatives' children living in the uncle's house. No matter how much the uncle can do, he can only keep these relatives' children from starving to death. The children are growing up, and it is winter. They eat porridge and wild vegetables every day. It didn't take long for the children to lose a lot of weight, and they are all stunted like little radishes. One day at noon, I was mowing grass in the backyard with a few friends, and suddenly I smelled a delicious meaty aroma. Super Zoo. Author, Yin Seg Nian Bai. Chapter 400. Lao He seemed to be caught up in the memories of those years. His eyes traveled through the years and returned to the unbearable years decades ago. He slowly told in an old voice, the smell was really delicious. At that time I'm afraid we kids haven't touched meat for more than half a year. When we smelled the smell of meat, saliva spurted out of our mouths. Children today probably can't understand the feeling of spitting out, but we were really greedy at the time, our saliva was pouring out and we couldn't stop it. Hearing this, the small room suddenly became extremely quiet. Several anchors standing by the wall forgot to record their studies. They raised their heads and looked at Lao He nervously. In the live broadcast room, although you can't see the current expressions of the audience, you can guess a thing or two from the feedback in the room. In the live broadcast room with more than 20,000 people, there was not a single message or gift at this moment. It seemed like time had frozen at this moment. A few decades ago, in a rural backyard, several children who smelled the aroma of meat put down their work without hesitation and rushed into the front hall in a swarm. My uncle and aunt were cooking at the dinner table. Instead of the usual steamed bread and pickles, there was a large bowl of steaming meat. The children rushed forward, scrambling to eat the meat. In the blink of an eye, half the basin of meat was completely eaten, and not even the soup was left. After eating, Several children licked their fingers and asked their uncle what kind of meat it was. The uncle put his hands behind his back and said nothing, turned around and went to work in the fields. The ant hesitated and said, "It's fragrant meat." Little children don't know what kind of meat is fragrant meat, but it is indeed very fragrant. This is the most fragrant meat that Louhi has ever eaten in his life. That night, Louhi got up and went to the hut. Passing under the window of his uncle's room, he heard his uncle and aunt talking, and then he realized what Siengru was. His uncle's voice seemed to still be echoing in his ears. "The big grey dog is so loyal, I hit its head hard with a pickaxe, and it lay there and begged me for mercy. It didn't hide or run, nor came to bite me, it just let me hit it until its skull was smashed and blood flowed all over the floor. He also shouted at me lowly and looked at me with his eyes." Hearing this, Xiaohe's mind buzzed, and he realized that what they were eating was the big grey dog. He couldn't help but feel a sore nose and felt sad in his heart. But at that time, my stomach was too weak and I felt sad, so I still immersed myself in eating meat, and after a while I stopped thinking about it. But every time he passed by the door of his uncle's house, Louhi couldn't help but look at the threshold. The door was empty, and he could no longer see the big grey dog that lay there all day guarding the door and occasionally yawned. After saying this, Louhi sighed, touched Wang Guang's head in his arms, and said, "From then on, when I see local dogs and wildcats, I will think of big grey dogs." The atmosphere in the room was a bit depressing. Except for Suming, who already knew the story, the remaining anchors who came to study and listen in heard it for the first time. The anchors are all young people. Without love, it is impossible to become the anchor of the zoo live broadcast platform. After hearing this, several anchors had red eyes. One young girl couldn't help it anymore, biting her lip and crying. It all flowed down. No one paid attention to the data on the live broadcast platform anymore. At this time, everyone was feeling sorry for the poor, loyal grey dog. On the message board of the live broadcast room, everyone was crying. Speechless. My heart is so stuffed and I don't know what to say. You can't blame teacher he, and you can't blame uncle. But the big grey dog is really pitiful, so loyal. A person who was about to go to the toilet to cry, but ended up crying all over the place. Oh, what a sad story. Hey, director, you are not a human being. Why do you tell such a sad story? It's so sad. I want to build a building for the big greyhound, with 10,000 floors. To commemorate the big greyhound, keep the formation below. In memory of the big greyhound. In memory of the big greyhound. In the live broadcast room, mourning was everywhere. In fact, the death of a dog is not a big deal in itself. Countless legal and illegal dogs are killed and eaten every day, but Louhi's story is really contagious. Among the viewers in the live broadcast room, many of them own dogs, and the scenes Louhi mentioned, such as the dogs yawning, seemed to be happening right next to them. Who has not seen a dog squatting at the door of a house, loyally guarding it? I'm afraid everyone has had this experience. Occasionally, you meet a stray dog on the roadside. It looks at you pitifully and you can't help but want to take it home. The puppy and kitten we had at home when we were children brought us so much joy in childhood, but later they had to be given away because of the move. The power of reality is infinite. Putting aside the flashy anchoring skills, ordinary Louhi used his ordinary stories to arouse the resonance of all viewers. However, sadness is not the main theme of the live broadcast platform. What the live broadcast platform brings to everyone should be joy, warmth, positive energy, and love. Fortunately, Teacher He's story is not over yet. Su Ming broke the deadlock. Decades passed in the blink of an eye, and the country's economy began to improve and take off, and Xiao He became De He and Lao He, teaching at the No. 2 affiliated primary school of Yangchuan City. There are several stray dogs in the elementary school. They often come to the playground to play with the students during school hours. The students often bring various snacks from home, or use their own pocket money to buy some food for these little guys. At the beginning, the school didn't pay much attention to it. There are stray dogs everywhere. But parents were worried that their babies would be bitten and scratched by these dirty stray dogs and infected with fleas. Many parents approached the school many times, hoping that the school would clean up the stray dogs. Under pressure and for safety reasons, the school asked the security department to disperse the stray dogs. In order to ensure that the stray dogs would not dare to come back after being dispersed, the security guards used sticks and iron forks in a rough way. One day when Lao He was at work, he saw this scene. Several security guards chased a large group of stray dogs running around. A small dog that looked like it had just been born and was covered in yellow fluff and dirty fell at the back. It was knocked down by the security captain with an iron rod and wailed on the ground. Lao He rushed to rescue the puppy. After going to the pet hospital for examination and treatment, one of the puppy's hind legs was already disabled. It was difficult for a disabled little stray dog to survive independently, so Lao He adopted it. This raised it for more than 10 years. Old He has retired, and the little dog has grown up to be the old dog Wang Wang. Lao He scratched Wang Wang's neck with a doting look, and said with a smile, "Don't think that it is bald now and doesn't like to move, that's because it is old. It was so cute when it was young, with shiny yellow hair, very smart, just like a little man. Once I was on a business trip and left it at a friend's house. It seemed to know everything. It kept glancing at me along the way, afraid that we would leave it alone. As soon as I walked out of the door of my friend's house, it followed me, barking so loudly that no matter how much I tried to persuade it, it woke up half of the people in the building in the middle of the night. I was a little annoyed, so I picked up a small stick and beat it, but it didn't run or hide, just lay on its back, letting me hit it, barking in pain and looking at me pleadingly. At that time, I immediately thought of the big gray dog at my uncle's house, and I felt very sad. In the end, I took it with me on the business trip. Time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, the 20-minute live broadcast had come to an end. Thank you for participating in this episode of I and It. Su Ming nodded slightly at the camera. Welcome to continue watching next time. Just as he was about to turn off the camera and end the live broadcast, he suddenly realized that the audience's response in the live broadcast room was too strong and there was no way to end it. Division. There are only 2 updates in the morning, so there will be 3 updates in the evening. It's also nice to have a little surprise occasionally.